why it's here.
Hot mic, hot mic. Turn my mic off, because I just was
Switch,
really
right?
rude.
We haven't started yet.
Check. Yeah, we're hot, we're hot.
That is true.
I have no idea. I'm gonna have to find something to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope not.
It is. It's working now. Good evening, everyone. Calling the meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I received a request to move up the public comment section. I'm okay with doubling it up for tonight, just so our guest, the mayor, doesn't have to wait the entirety of the meeting. I'd open that up to the committee if there is a motion for that. Again, we can still keep the other public comment section just in case another parent comes in later on in the night. So,
I'll make the motion to move it up.
is there a second? Oh, let's say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if that mic should be working, unless I see a signal from our IT. You have to turn it on.
Testing. I'll hold it. I just wanted first to come over and congratulate the members of the school committee who ran for election and were reelected. Congratulations. And I also wanted to come in today to offer my appreciation and congratulations to two of the members who are moving on. As you all know, I don't have to say this for your benefit, public service is a calling, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and commitment. It's caring about your community, caring about your school system, caring about your children and families, and you've all taken up the charge to do that. We appreciate that. We know that you put a lot of hard work into running a campaign to then get elected, to then serve the community. So congratulations to those people who were elected. We appreciate you. Secondly, I know that we have a member from Ward 2, Max Brandel, who has decided that he's going to take a break from public service. And it's been wonderful working with the entire school committee, but especially with Max as a person who joined the school committee almost out of high school. He brought the young person's perspective. He brought the recent graduate perspective to the committee. And it's been wonderful serving the city of East Providence and working collaboratively with you over the years to make sure that our students have the best facilities and education available. So in recognition of your honorable service to the city of East Providence, as the East Providence Ward 2 School Committee Representative 2020 to 2024, on behalf of the city of East Providence, thank you for the time and dedication you displayed as a public servant. We wish you continued success for many years to come. Just wanted to give you a certificate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Can you get a photo? Sure. Thank you, sir. And I think the city of East Providence has been very fortunate to have a person of the caliber of Jenny Furtado serving on the school committee. Being a school committee chair is never easy when you have to navigate all the complex issues of education, but also keep the whole team together. As we know in politics, you don't always see eye to eye, but the best thing about politics is that you can get to the table and compromise and make decisions that benefit the entire community. So we're sad to see that Jenny's leaving the school committee, but we're very proud and happy to see that she'll be serving the City of East Providence and Pawtucket in the General Assembly as a representative. Jenny, it's been great working with you as the school committee chair. When we had issues or concerns, you'd sit down and listen and try to come up with resolutions. I really appreciate what you've done here in your capacity as school committee member and school committee chair. In recognition of your honorable service to the City of East Providence as the East Providence Ward 3 School Committee Representative 2020 to 2024, on behalf of the City of East Providence, thank you for the time and dedication you displayed as a public servant. We wish you continued success for many years to come, and I truly look forward to working with you as a representative in the State Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, much appreciated. Next item, please.
Next is Student Liaisons, Ty Messier, East Providence High School.
Good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Ferrand, Assistant Superintendent Ramji, and Ms. Corsi. It's a pleasure to see you all today. I'm excited to share that our Tawny Bazaar, held on November 23rd, was an incredible success. As always, we had an outstanding turnout, raising thousands of dollars to support various committees, clubs, sports teams, and local businesses. We'd like to extend our thanks to everyone who attended, and we're already looking forward to next year's event. On December 5th, we had the pleasure of hosting our band and chorus concert, which was a wonderful celebration of our talented townies performing for the community. Looking ahead, we are excited to announce that our annual Winter Ball will take place on December 13th. We're excited for the festive season and can't wait to celebrate with everyone. Additionally, we'll be holding another blood drive on December 20th. I'll be attending, and we encourage you to consider joining us in this event. As this fall sports season wraps up, we're proud to celebrate some incredible achievements. Our football team made history by defeating LaSalle 27-26 in our annual Thanksgiving game, marking our first victory over them in 7 years. It was a fantastic season, and we're already gearing up for next year's challenges. With the fall sports behind us, the winter sports season is now underway, and our indoor track team placed 4th at our injury fund relay. Our 4x200 team played first in their event, and our 4x400 team and our 4x55-meter hurdle team and our long jump team placed 3rd in their respective events. There have been no other events for other sports now, but there are many coming up. Thank you all for your continued support, and we look forward to all the wonderful things ahead. Thank you.
Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
So we received these items, as always, in our packets. Are there any questions or comments regarding those items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I will also note, actually, before anyone makes a motion, we did have an addition on the table when we got here. It says appointments, just as. So I'll entertain a motion. Or, Superintendent, do you want to add anything about our new Director of Human Resources? Not yet? Never mind. have more information about that next month.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? The consent agenda is approved. Next item, please.
PTA EPLAC reports.
Or Jessica? Or would you like to move this item to later?
I don't know if anyone is coming. No, yeah, let's move this item just down. Can I make a motion to move?
Go ahead.
Move it towards the end, just in case maybe someone is coming, and if not, I can get my notes, because I really would like to talk about EPLAC, because we had a presentation that was unbelievable, so I do want to talk about it, so I can get out my notes for it.
Would you like to move that between building committee report and public comments?
Sure.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? All right. Next item, please.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Ferrand.
We first have the East Providence High School 2025 to 2026 Program of Studies. Principal Black, is it extensive? Would you prefer us to sit in the front row, or up here is okay?
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. We're here tonight to talk about the East Providence High School Program of Studies, something that we go through every year, which is an important part to kind of really start our scheduling process. But we begin the year introducing these courses and changes to you. Upon successful approval of this, we begin to share with families in the 8th grade all the way through junior year, and then our guidance school counselors begin the scheduling process in early February, mid-January, February timeframe. So we can go to the first slide, just an overview of tonight. So as you might remember from last year, there was a change in graduation requirements for the class of 28, which is our current freshman class right now. So we're continuing to revise our program of study, knowing that we're in a split type graduation requirements. Most of our students are on our former graduation requirements, except for that class. We also have, which we have every year, additions and revisions of some courses that we're excited to talk to you about. Also going to talk more about our connections and our alternative learning program, talk a little bit about our pathways, some changes in school counseling, and issues regarding plagiarism, including academic integrity, and some additions that we've made along the way there. So we'll dive into it now. That's just an overview of tonight. So excited to start out with some really great news to share. So our high school was one of only 3 schools in the state of Rhode Island that earned both platinum and access recognition by the College Board. The College Board is a national organization that supports all advanced placement testing throughout the country and world. East Providence was one of 3 high schools. The other high school was Bayview Academy over in Riverside, and that's a private school, and the other high school was Classical High School, which is, you know, traditionally one of the top 50 high schools in the country. So I would say that Bayview and Classical are a really good company finally to be with us. We have the Platinum piece is about performance, and Access piece really demonstrating that we have a commitment to equitable coursework for our students. So this includes all students. AP exams kind of have that you know, reputation of only being advanced or certain category of students, and we're proud to say at East Providence that it's wide open. All students, underrepresented students, are represented here at the high school, and this is evidence of that. So our school is very proud of that. There were only 5, I think, schools that received Platinum, 3 that received both. The other 2 that are in company and fortunate to be with us are Moses Brown and I forget the Portsmouth Abbey. So those are the 4 schools that are in our category. So we'll welcome them in. But we're very proud of where our students are at, and this is a big commitment by our teachers. Next slide. We can go right to English, to the next slide. So we're going to add a advanced placement class, speaking about advanced placement, for 10th grade in English called AP Seminar. AP Seminar will be a year-long class. Our teachers went through that training last summer on 3 English teachers at the high school who are prepared to teach this, and we're going to roll this out next year. This will be a rigorous English course. Students take English 10 college prep or English 10 honors will now have the opportunity to take this as one of their English credits at the high school. Another class we're very excited about, Literature of Latin Cultures. So students will be exploring texts, both nonfiction and fiction, for the Latinx community. Students will be able to really engage in those texts and have that opportunity to do this. This will run as a semester class, as an elective class that students wish to take. And it's a class that we've wanted to put together for a little while that our teachers are really excited about, and our students have shown a lot of interest already involved in a lot of these texts through their other courses. And one other change there at the bottom is around University of Rhode Island course for English and University of Rhode Island for writing. So those classes, URI requires that students have a 3.0 to take those courses. We've never put that in the program of studies. It's kind of a technical change for us, but students earn college credit at URI when they take that. So we made a change for that. And I actually have a copy of that change here that I'll give to you just in writing so you can look at that as well, because it just kind of spells it out. But it's more of a technical change, but we wanted to put it in through this year's cycle because it was just one of those things. And that's what happens when the program of studies is 80 pages. Sometimes we're going back and revamping things, just got some old things in there. Anybody have any questions on anything? I'll just keep going. Feel free to stop me at any point or tell me to shut up or whatever works. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So we can go into the social studies slide next. One class we're also adding is a lot of student interest around our psychology semester course. So we offer psychology as a semester, and it's a very popular course taught by Mr. Brian Vieira. Really has developed that class into something special. Students are very interested, really want to take that course. So he's been pushing for a while for a full year-long AP course. So this is something we're excited about offering. There's a lot of surveys, a lot of data collected in our psychology classes. Then it gets analyzed and used, and there are discussions. We've just a ton of interest in that. And students going on to take psychology or social sciences or needing a psychology credit will have that opportunity upon successful completion of the AP test. So I think when students have an interest and teachers have an interest, it makes a lot of sense for us to make these additions to the program of study, and that's kind of where we're at with these courses. Just some minor changes in social studies regarding summer work, again, cleaning things up, going over credits, what credits are for certain EEP classes that weren't necessarily spelled out. Would say things like college credit, but not number it. So we just really want it to be clear, so when students and families review this, everything will be there. The next slide, please. All right, so our science, there's not really big changes happening this year for science. If you remember, we did a few last year, the last couple of years. Biotechnology is a very popular course, and that's going to be moved to a year-long course versus having it for just a semester class. We're seeing more interest in that. We have a teacher that we hired a couple of years ago with a passion for that, who also has a relationship with Amgen, and that's going to allow our students to have a possibility of just access to more things, whether that's pathways, experience, speakers coming in. It's a really good relationship that makes sense for us to have, that our science teachers are behind. So we're excited to kind of push that forward. And then some other changes that, you know, kind of goes the other way. As you get more interest in one area and maybe you have less interest in the other area through the course selection process, was around astronomy and STEM. They were removed from the list because we're just really not filling those classes or seeing as much of a demand for those. So those are some other classes that we've kind of adjusted with that. So we're not just constantly adding classes that aren't really taking place in the program of studies. And that pathway piece is can lead to like biotechnology or biomedical, and that's where some interest lies, I think, with some of our real high flyer students, the students that want to take that fourth year of science, have already taken maybe their requirement, but now they're pushing it to another area. We'll have that opportunity. Next slide. Okay, next one for math. So math is probably the area that we have to do the most work in terms of the new graduation requirements. It's very spelled out and very strict in terms of the Rhode Island Department of Ed and the requirements that we have. So there are some courses that we have that are no longer approved by RIDE. So we'll start to phase those classes out. However, you know, we have to be thoughtful about how we do it because the freshman class, remember, has the new graduation requirements. So, you know, rising juniors and seniors will still be able to take these courses, and we don't want to just phase them out completely because it makes sense. So we're adjusting to that. So those are some of the courses that you see there. We added AP Pre-Calc last year, you might remember, when we were here. And there's a lot of overlap with pre-calculus honors. So those were some changes that we wanted to make because you didn't, you know, a student that wanted to take both, it just didn't make a lot of sense for college admissions or whatever they were looking to do next because the classes had a lot of overlap. So we kind of put in some prereqs there. Some other changes, probably the biggest one on this slide is where we'll be moving forward for next year. So we were always algebra, not always, because we probably change every 10 years or so. That's education. But we went algebra, algebra 2, geometry is what we've had for a while now at the high school. So we're going to go algebra, geometry, and then algebra 2. Some of the thinking around that is the geometry concepts will help with algebra 2. Also, when students are taking the PSAT, they'll have some of geometry that they may not have had before. And that's always been something we feel like we're always going back and forth with. So with the new graduation requirements, that's the sequence change. And then there's some other courses that you can see that will be available to 11th and 12th graders, but do not meet the graduation requirements right now. And it's strange when you look at some of the things with the Department of Ed that we're still working through, and we're working with them. But, you know, applying for trigonometry, to have a class like that is something we have to apply for. That seems kind of like a no-brainer, I know, to all of us in here, but it's part of the requirement process. So we're working through that, and math is probably the one where we have to take the most time to kind of set things up for success. Next slide, please. All right, so phys ed and health, one change in addition that I think we've had some interest in is around sports medicine and athletic training. So as you know, we have our trainer, Amanda, who's at just about all our games. And there's a lot of interest with students in wanting to do something like that. Ties into the science, ties into what's going on, just giving them an experience. So this class will provide students with an opportunity to learn more about sports medicine, athletic training. They'll be encouraged to attend athletic contests, so it's kind of using the events that we already have in place and giving our students some experience. And they will have to take a couple of health classes as a prereq before they go for that class. And then again, we're trying to build out those pathways with phys ed. So phys ed pathways are kind of new. We're looking at sports media. You've seen things on that, going to athletic contests, the QR codes, the programs, and then also with moving towards sports medicine and athletic training. All right, so special education. So upon approval through our school committee, as you know, was our alternative learning program that was developed. It's housed next door in our admin building. We wanted to just change up and define. We talk a lot about special education and different programs, so we wanted to make sure that was spelled out in the program of studies. So in terms of what the expectations are and what happens with a student in the life skills program versus the connections program versus the alternative learning program. So spelling that out a little bit more in the program of studies seemed to make sense as we were going through this. So those were some changes that we made. In our life skills and transition programs, we kind of call a bunch of classes life skills, but our students that are 18 plus are really more in a transitions program. So just kind of defining that and making sure that makes sense to students and families was an addition that we had. Fine arts. So fine arts and music. So unified classes, digital art. So unified music and unified fine arts have been added to the curriculum. Those are very similar to what we had in phys ed before, now having that in art and music, giving all students the opportunity to be in those classes, also with peer models and develop those relationships, connect to kind of unified sports. We definitely have that culture here at the high school of inclusion, so wanting to broaden that to fine arts and music. Digital art program is something that we haven't had before, and we have definitely a need for it, especially with what goes on in Miss Nelson's room in terms of graphics in the CTC. We had so many students that were interested in the CTC and only so many seats. So students that are interested in graphics, which is like a sellout class every year in terms of interest, will now have the opportunity to take some digital art classes. And those programs work very closely together, so it's a good model of collaboration that we see between the two programs of the CTC and then the fine arts class. And if you talk to Mr. Demore, who teaches the digital art pro, he is so excited about this. He said the kids are fired up. Their digital art, it was actually on one of the posters when we built the high school. We have that as one of our components, but we just haven't taught that class yet or started to build that out. So talking to an art teacher and how important digital art is, it's like the most important thing in the world. So I think the students are going to be pretty fired up about it. So we're excited to bring that in. And then just clarifying some other changes in terms of intro classes and having a 1 and a 2. You know, it's just more clarifying some of those classes so there was an order to it as students are scheduling and parents and students know what's available. Next slide, please. So not too many changes here. Thinking about MLL and our students in the MLL program, offering some honors classes within the program of studies. So we had a student before that had wanted to apply, was a student in the MLL program, wanted to apply some rigorous universities and ran into some issues with GPA because there weren't as many honors classes. So they were in certain classes, but we just didn't have them taught at that honors level. So that was a change, seeing that we had that demand and that need. You know, in one particular case that we feel like there's probably more students that have that need. So we put that into place for next year. And that's, you know, some electives and some tweaks were made along the way within the MLL program, but no major changes there. Next slide, please. Our Career and Technical Center. So as you know, upon approval from the school committee earlier this year, was our Army JROTC. So we're really excited about that, rolling that out. A school with 1,700 students, there's definitely a need for that. There's probably been a need for that for a long time. Have, you know, military recruiters come into the school, check in. We teach a military history class. There's a lot of interest in that. And it's not a career path necessarily to the military. It's about leadership development and character development. And there's you know, a lot of good leadership principles that students are learning and modeling will have that opportunity. So that's the big change to the CTC and to the school next year. So we'll be launching that in September. And then other changes are like our nursing CNA course. We're turning that into a semester versus a full year course. Again, we've learned that we don't need a full year course for that. There's so much we can fit in one semester in terms of their experience. For example, working at Talquanton or working at the nursing homes, getting some experience, getting the hours, getting the certification, and then our teachers supervising it. So having a group of 10 to 20 students, twice a year versus having a huge group of students and supporting them. So it just makes a lot more sense. It's really, we've had that work stretched out over the year, but we've learned we really don't need a year in order to get them prepared for the CNA. So that's a tweak along the way there. School counseling. So a big change is, if you remember, we used to have level 1, which was similar to our honors classes, level 2, which we still have in the school, and then level 3, which I believe was taken away a long time ago. So we had these levels, and then we got rid of level 3. We made all our level 1 honors, but we've just been carrying this L2 name, really for no reason at all. It made sense when you had a 1, 2, 3, so we're changing that to college prep. That's really what those classes are. They've always been a college prep. We've put that in the program of studies. We just had to make that technical change. So IT was great with us to change all of those courses for us, because it would say, I'm in an honors class or I'm in an L2 class. I mean, you're in a 2, but it's like being on the 2nd floor, right? And there's no 1st floor or 3rd floor. How'd you get there? Makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? So that is something that we wanted to change. And then just some other changes that our school counselors wanted to put in. So a lot of those academic recognitions, I know you're all at graduation and you see the different seals and certificates and you hear about all the recognition that go on at the end of the year and at graduation. So really highlighting those and calling those out. Rhode Island Honor Society doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed for a while. It just vanished. So we've been using it because we've had it in our program of study. So what's happened is we get to graduation every year and we're like, how do we honor the students for the National Honor Society? It doesn't exist anymore. So we still use the criteria. So there was some good thinking that went on in the counseling department with our guidance counselors, and it was like, let's call it a Townie Scholar Award. So we're still going to have it. We're still going to offer it for students. But since the Rhode Island Honor Society doesn't exist anymore, why give a student that? So Townie Honor Society, Townie Scholar is something that we'll have. We still have National Honor Society. The Commissioner's seal description was always given out, but now it is added. And then we reference some changes like Parent Square and things like that. So it just makes more sense because those are the message that families get. That might be it. That's it. All right. What questions do we have?
I'll open up the floor to the committee. Any questions for Principal Black or Superintendent?
First and foremost, Mr. Black, I want to congratulate you and your team of administrators, your department chairs, all of your teachers on the honorable mentions and awards received. It's extremely impressive and an opportunity for everybody to feel proud of all the hard work put in. I also wanted to make note and ask a question. So the program offerings are extremely exciting. There's some really great stuff in here that's going to be offered. And I'm curious, as looking through it, it appears that the additions outweigh any program subtractions, close to 4 to 1. So I was wondering maybe if you can just mention a little bit on the strategy that you and your team put forth in developing these programs offered to our students, but also how we would be able to balance all of the classes offered on top of the additional classes we're going to offer without subtracting an equal amount.
Sure. Thank you very much we appreciate your support. We're very excited about the the awards as well. I would say that, graduation requirements for us still are at 22 for students to get to. We've added the 2 additional from last year world language credits, and then we've added a half credit for computer science. So out of the electives that you used to be able to take, we had 2.5 cut into that. One of the ways it's very supportive is help with from the middle school. So it's really been a great effort from the district, middle schools, and the high school, department chairs, teachers working together. So students are able to get 1 credit that comes with them from world language, so they can come into the high school with that credit. That's the class of 28 starting with them. The class of 29 right now, what they're working on is addition to that, they're going to continue that plus that half credit of computer science. So where we lost 2.5 credits, we really only, we picked up another credit and a half. So it's a net of a credit now that's different with the new graduation requirements. We have to remember that our students take 7 classes a year, right? So 7 times 4, there's opportunity for 28 credits while you're here. So it's 22 to graduate, but 28 is, you can really max out at it, even if you think about it with the credit and a half, 29 and a half now with the addition. So there's a lot of flexibility between that 22 and 29 for students to choose which classes that they want to take and be able to do that. So when we look at it, it's not the addition of requirements, it's more of the addition of opportunity. So now you look at it, it's like, I really might enjoy going this pathway or going this more math, science, more English. If I'm in CTC, I really want to focus on that and I want to work on that, and I'll just pick up credits as I want to. So it meets the profile of so many students that walk through the door, which is the biggest challenge because you have 1,700 students. So how do you keep the interest level high? How do you get them what they need, but also have them doing things that they want to do? So I think we're in a really good place with these offerings. And I know when we come here, we always talk about all the new classes that we have, but I think we always have to remember these are just new opportunities. These aren't new requirements for students to have to take, which is very different than elementary and middle as they come up. Now once they get to high school, they have a lot more wiggle room to take all the different courses or not, or pathways that they wish to follow. I don't know if that answers
Yeah,
the
no,
question.
no, totally, it does, yeah. And I think it's absolutely wonderful to have a variety of opportunities for our student body to select from. It provides that opportunity to, guide their educational process. A second question I have, I think it's also fantastic to hear the URI English and writing courses coming back, providing college credits. As a 2004 East Providence High School graduate, I walked away with a handful of college credits, one of them being from the URI writing course. And I'm curious, are there any other courses that we are offering that are providing college credits as well?
Oh yeah, we're offering a lot. So all of our advanced placement classes, so like the new seminar class for 10th grade, and then you can be English Lit, English Comp, you can move up through 11th and 12th grade. So those are the AP classes. Freshman year, when you come in, if you want to, there's a rigorous class, AP Government. So right off the bat in 9th grade, which we probably have about 50 students taking, Mr. Messier, about 50 students taking that now in the 9th grade. Have the opportunity to get to it, and then they can move up through a social studies pathway. In science, we still offer AP Bio, AP Chem, or EEP Chem. And then when we move over towards math, we talked a little bit about the pre-cal, calculus, but then we also have the early enrollment classes, which are at URI and Rhode Island College, where we have a relationship with those schools. And our teachers have gone through that training and provide their syllabus and approved by them yearly, where we have very specific classes that they can take as well. And AP gives you a little more flexibility, but it's more rigorous. EEP is maybe not as rigorous as an AP class because it's not under the College Board. It doesn't give you as much flexibility, but many of our students attend University of Rhode Island or Rhode Island College and will go in with a handful of credits. We know of a lot of students that finish in less than 4 years, that finish in 3 years, people that graduated here that are now doing things very quickly. And saving money, right? Because they're coming here and they're not having to spend those spend those funds at the colleges. So they're already going in with a semester's worth or a year's worth of credits. So that's where that 22 to 28 or 29 that we talked about. If you're a student that's, struggling getting by and you're just closer to that 22 versus if you're a student that, is able to maximize your time here and do really well and take those courses that we're talking about, you can leave here with nearly a year's worth of credit for URI or Rhode Island College.
If you have more questions,
Yeah, and then, I guess, lastly, my only other question is if you could maybe jump into a little bit of, the thought process and the work put forth for the academic integrity portion of this. And specifically, I'm curious to hear a little bit about how you and your team are looking into, the internet resources, right, such as AI, tools like ChatGPT, not necessarily to have those types of AI tools doing work for students, but having those tools being actual tools, editing tools. How is that thought process happening, while you're determining these definitions?
So I would say probably last summer, before the end of last school year, there was a lot of talk about it from our staff. They were kind of seeing these assignments that maybe weren't done by the students that were done through these tools. So it became a pretty big concern, I would say, about a year ago now. So there was a lot of conversations about what to do. So we put a team together. A lot of our leadership team and teachers, administrators were on that team. And we really tasked them with doing research. What are other schools doing? Looking at a process that's fair and equitable for students, and looking at our current plagiarism procedure and what we did there. So being such a big school, communication's always a challenge. How do we get on the same path? What's happening in your class, you might be in a different content than my class, than Mr. Ferrera's class. And so we don't know, we might all share that student, but they could be all over the building. So it was kind of coming together with a team to figure that out. So then it really became informing our teachers. When there's an issue, having a Google form, having a place where you could put a student's name on there, and then that committee would review the incident. Because right away, you don't want to say, oh, this student wasn't following the rules. You don't know, right? So there's a process there. So you want to make sure you investigate it and do it right, talk to the student. And then from there, it's really a process. So once there's evidence of that, from there, it's informing the student, informing the family. There's issues with that grade, if they could, depending on what it is, if they could retake up to a certain score. Because, it is that maybe it's the first time it happened. But then if it keeps happening, right, then there's a pattern. Now we have a problem. So we're dealing with it that way. In terms of the tools and looking at, our teachers have access to some of the tools that are out there that kind of counter a ChatGPT, that will give a sense of, was this paper just totally created by AI, or was this a paper that wasn't cited, or was this a paper where it was a combination of both that's maybe in question? So from there, that's kind of an evolution because, it's new. And the technology, I would say, gets ahead of us all the time. There were some trainings over the summer that some of our staff took place in on what to look for, how to create a procedure. So it's a learning process. But in terms of making the change and getting the committee together and getting the communication right, and then it's kind of training teachers from there. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more trainings that our teachers are going to attend to be able to understand that. Just like we're catching up to it, I think the state is, and some of the other agencies are catching up to it as well. And I have a feeling this summer we'll be doing more training.
Excellent. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the same topic, actually. So once that AI policy is completed, that will be a separate piece to that? And do you think that will be cited to in the future copy of this packet? Okay. The second question I had was, who is on the academic integrity panel, or who are you planning to have on that panel, and how many?
Yeah, so we have a panel right now. I don't have the number exactly in front of me, but it's about 5 to 7 teachers and an administrator.
Okay, so it's a mix. Would it depending on what subject this incident happened, or is it that set group of people that are reviewing any sort of complaint?
We pretty much, I don't think we have every subject area covered, but the main 4 core areas plus world language are all represented on that, plus an administrator. So we're pretty much covered, and every teacher has access to it. So if it is even happening in another class for another reason, it'll get reported to that committee through a Google form.
Gotcha. And has that already been completed as well, that form? I know it was referred to already in here,
Yes,
but
yeah, the
that's what-
form is in place, the process in place, the team is meeting, have been meeting this year just to evaluate things and look at it.
Okay. And my third question, and I believe it was Jessica who brought it up potentially multiple times about considering suspension from school sports. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you had mentioned that, like using that as a potential deterrent for, you know, if there's like a severe abuse or something. Like if you're not completing forms, like that was, we had discussed that a little bit briefly at some point to consider.
I think it was
You know?
about bringing in forms, you know, like your residency requirement. That was basically, we were discussing
Okay.
about if you did not bring in your residency requirement, that you wouldn't participate in any extracurricular activities, including dances, band, chorus, anything that was
A plus.
a plus.
Yeah. So I guess going along with that initial idea that she had brought up regarding a different issue, I was wondering if that was potentially a quote-unquote like punishment that would be considered along with these other ones that were listed, like loss of student leadership positions and loss of candidacy for or membership in honor societies. And I know it says et cetera, so it's not a complete list of things that could be considered, and of course it depends on what the student did. But I was wondering if, again, if a student missing a game would be considered potentially, depending on, again, the misdeed that they did. Wasn't sure if that was discussed at any point.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first change we've kind of made to it, so I think we wanted to really keep it in the academic realm right now. It makes more of a connection that, you know, if you're on the, say, an honor society and you're in an honors class and this occurs, you know, there's a direct correlation to it. You know, adding sports or events to it, you know, could be on the table, like the way it is with social probation and things like that. Right now, I think we're just really focused on the academic piece, but I think as this committee evolves and this team evolves and we deal with situations, you know, there's going to be some probably adjustments that we make along the way.
And just to clarify from my end, the reason why I had asked that about my is because sometimes students, what they look forward to most at the end of the day is like participating in whatever extracurricular. And I feel like your top priority at the end of the day should be your education before all the other additional pluses that come with, you know, coming to school. But that's just my opinion on that. And then just another thought as well. Would there be a different consideration as well, let's say if there was, because there's a 10-day appeal, right? And 10 days to notify them of a hearing date. Let's say like there's an incident regarding like a final exam. Is there a sort of shortened period of time in the event that that happens? Has that been discussed? I know we can't put every single, you know, scenario in here, but that's just a question if that was.
Yeah, I think being in the school, the key to life is flexibility, right? So you always have to adjust to situations that constantly happen. Even though that is 80 pages, there's still so many things that will come up with 1,700 students that we have to get together with that team and discuss things like duration, things like time. You know, we have to, something could happen in the past, things could happen during final exams, and we might have to push final exams to even later into the summer. And those are adjustments that we've always made along the way when we need time to investigate things. Even though like the school day ends at 2:05, like the work just goes 24/7, as you know. So it's all those things are, you know, really trying to do what's in the best interest of the student at all times. And that it could include discipline, right? It doesn't mean everything in the best of the student and everything, get away with everything. There's discipline involved with that. But we always have to kind of collaborate with that team, with our teachers, with our department chairs, our administration. We talk to the central office all the time on things and kind of as thought partners to just try to figure out what's going to be the best situation. So it's not always black and white, so that's why that collaboration piece is important.
No, thank you. That's what I was looking for, is
Yeah.
that there's that flexibility, that it's not just, even though there is a very detailed procedure, that there is still some flexibility depending on the issue. So that's encouraging to hear.
Are we gonna have students sign off on this, these definitions of academic integrity, so that we know that they read them?
Yeah, so we'll make that part of the student handbook process with a lot of those kind of procedures that we have in place. Also, a lot of the school committee policies regarding certain things that come up are in the student handbook. We want to put it in both places to kind of over-communicate program of study and handbook, and that's where parents and students would sign off on that.
Okay, that, my next question, parents, because, yeah, just like we did with this year with everything, because I think it's important for parents to understand that even a child giving their homework to somebody is considered it. My next question has to kind of do with what the chair just spoke about. The group, the panel that will judge or will look at the pathways, who will that group consist of to see who gets chosen for the pathways by looking at the applications?
I'm really glad you asked that. So our pathways, I would say, have we really haven't had a full-out system or process for it. I think it's just been some students might have an interest and talk to a teacher, vice versa, and it's been low numbers. But we know that, last year we had over 500 applications for the CTC with 200 and something slots, right? So it was like a 50% acceptance rate, and we're putting in all our East Providence students first. I mean, I think that part, as you all know, but that needs to be clear to everybody. That
I think that this summer that became the social media.
Yeah. No, but that's absolutely what happens. The only time is when we have an East Providence student that isn't interested in a program, and at that point we will backfill from outside of the city. So that piece is pretty clear, and it's very different than what a lot of other communities do. Talking to Mr. Hanlon and other CTC directors, they're counting on getting outside district to come in first, and they're banking on that, right? We're focused on our students first, and then we go from there, which is important. So with Pathways, it's been a big push for like our leadership team, our department chairs, and myself and the admin team to really try to get that going this year with that interest, knowing 50% of students want to do something. It doesn't mean that they want to all do the CTC or whatever, because they're in 8th grade and they're figuring things out, but we know there's an interest. So what we're doing for the first time ever, which we're really excited about, is for all freshmen and all sophomores in separate assemblies in January that are going to come in here and hear a presentation about Pathways. Our department chairs are going to lead a slide on what they're doing in their department. We talked a little bit about phys ed starting to do some athletic training. Right now, Heather Coughlin has a bunch of students working in some of our schools for education and communication. So that's happening right now. I think there's 8 students in the English department right now that she is like managing and pushing out and following up on. So what we're going to do is expose our students to these pathways, because it's just been through like digital content, it's just through emails and in this program of studies, which not everybody has the time to look through or understand. So we're going to do that first. And then from there, we're going to see what the interest is. It's a blanket for 400 students in the freshman class and 400 students in the sophomore class. From there, we'll have some win, our win block, where we'll break down and say, this is going to be a communications win. Come to this win, sign up. You heard about it in the auditorium. Now this is a follow-up. So that the process is, it'll funnel, right? Like some student, that number from 400 will get way down. And then the students are going to begin their scheduling process. So what you're getting to, Ms. Bouchane, is like the whole piece about how they schedule and sign up. And so now they're going to be looking at it with their school counselor in their class when they're signing up for their classes next year. And if you're interested in a pathway, now you've heard about it in here, maybe you've heard about it in a win, now you're gonna know, these are some of the classes that I wanna take. Like, I know I need these 3 classes to take this education pathway. Well, I'm gonna sign up for one of these classes next year. I'm gonna talk to my counselor about that. So the nice thing is we're kind of getting more exposure to our students. I think it's a little bit scary because we don't know what the interest level will be. So sometimes it's like, how do we sustain it? What if 500 students all want to do a pathway? How are we going to send them all out into the community? But let's find out. If they do, we'll have to figure it out, right? That's how we look at it. Let's not get in the way of students. Like, let's give them the opportunity. So this is exciting. This is something new. Pathways were very individualized, and I think there wasn't a system there, and they were just kind of plucked, or they chose, and it was for certain groups of kids that maybe were just in the right place at the right time, or it just worked out by happenstance. Now it's definitely more of a system. I think, and our department chairs are in a really good place with this. Some have been pushing them out for a while, and they've been waiting for this. We're like kind of cutting them loose. And the other ones, they're like, okay, let me learn from the other department, see what they're doing. This is totally new to me. I'm used to doing traditional classroom stuff. Okay, all right, now I can send them out. Now I can give them that opportunity. And we're collaborating a lot with the CTC because it's already happening there. Students are second semester are working with Mr. Barroso in automotive. They're just coming in and checking in the morning, and then they're going to work for the day. Some are volunteering, some are getting paid, depending on the situation. So we want to just spread that out a little bit more and give those students the opportunity to do that. It's, you know, it's always scary in schools because we're set up to everybody's just in here and you're kind of following your schedule. But we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to, you know, and instead of your attendance on Skyward, it's a timesheet. Right? It's just like you would at work. What's my timesheet say? That's what they're turning in at the end of the week. Oh, you showed up for work every day. Oh, you didn't show up on Tuesday. Well, you weren't in school on Tuesday. There's consequences for that. So there's a readiness piece. There's a whole piece with that. But by starting with the freshmen and sophomores, I think we're really going to have an opportunity to grow this. So we're really excited about this. Is a big step for us in terms of systemizing. You know, we talk about pathways. Now we're kind of putting a system behind it. So I think that's going to be really good for our kids. Any other questions?
Regarding the application for the life skills and transition partners, the application can be found where? I'm assuming the director of that department, but where else can parents find a copy of that?
So when students are scheduling, school counselors will go over that. So school counselors will do that. They'll have the opportunity to do that there. It's really important that we want to get students that are interested in that and want to do that, and not students that we just schedule in there because it worked in their schedule, because that doesn't work for anybody as much. So they can get that with their counselor.
Additional questions or comments?
County Scholar Achievement, does that carry the same credibility as the Rhode Island Honor Society?
It does, mainly based on GPA, correct.
And if like that's something a student wanted to put like on their college application, that's something that like they could do, and it would like have that, it would carry like the same weight.
You know, I think we have to remember that there is no Rhode Island Honor Society, so we didn't want to have nothing. So I think there'll probably be an education there. I don't think, you know, admissions councils around the country are going to, oh, you're a Townie Scholar yet. I think we'll have to build that locally. I think it'll be a part of letters of recommendation, you know, that we put for students, and it'll definitely be a part of their resume that they put in, and it'll mean something. And I think other communities have kind of gone this way with losing the Honor Society. But yeah, it'll be able to easily tell an admissions counselor that because we don't have that, this is what we have, and this is what it means to us, and this is what the student's done. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the committee? Yep.
Absolutely.
Been forwards. And then could you just send us a list of, off the top of
I can get you that. I don't have that on the top of my head, but between our pathways and CTC, I can definitely.
That's a great, in other words, that's something that we really got to focus, you know, going forwards for the workforce. The dollars that are out there for some of these kids, entering the workforce is phenomenal. So the more we could put out there, it'd be great for this community.
I agree. I can
Thank
get
you for
that to
that.
the superintendent, so you can get that to everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
You got it.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? My question to the superintendent just now was whether or not the other position for the ROTC was filled. That is posted, so that was my only question I had left.
Yeah, it is posted, so we'll be looking for applicants for that, and then we'll have our interview process.
Any additional questions or comments from the committee?
When do students start to normally schedule their classes for the following year?
So upon approval of this tonight, what we'll start to do is push this out to everyone and give them an opportunity to look through it. And the physical scheduling, how it works is we use English because everyone's in an English class, year-long class, and a counselor it goes into an English class for a period with that group of students. Typically happens because of midterms, sometimes we start a little bit before and a little bit after, but it's mid-January to probably before the February break is our goal to have everybody done. When students are absent, we're following up with them. Their counselors are meeting with them individually. So it's pretty much that mid-January to mid-February timeframe.
And based on your knowledge, do most students share what they're doing with their families at home?
I would say
I'm
that,
just asking, like,
yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest, and to what Tony just said, like, if you're going to go the pathway of education, you can come out of high school with your paraprofessional, license. You can come out of high school with your CNA license. I mean, that's pretty huge. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, I have a friend who went to CCRI, paid all that money to become a CNA. So that's a big deal. And, I'm hoping that kids are speaking with their families. The automotive, we know that some really good ones are right over here making some really good money right now. So I just wanted to know if students are going home and talking this over with their parents before making decisions on what we have to offer and what they're thinking about doing.
I think it's always the challenge of the high schooler saying anything to their parents, including what classes they're taking. I mean, it's just the beginning of time. But it doesn't mean like we can't push it out through communication, like have you talk to your child. They're going through the scheduling process now. So that's a way we can help support that in terms of communicating. We have a Townie News Weekly, just like putting that out, putting ways for parents to say, hey, this is going on. Are you aware they're checking? And then what we do is once scheduling starts to happen and the students are placed at least in their courses, we do send that out to families. They won't know what periods and what teachers just yet, but they'll know what their schedule looks like when that's done before we start scheduling them. So last year, I know that was very popular. That was a little change that we had done last year. The parents could see what their students had signed up for, so it wasn't so like, what's going on until the summer hits.
And so the assemblies for the freshman and sophomore, that will happen prior to scheduling. Okay.
That intention.
Additional questions or comments from the committee? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Next item, we have the security funding update. I was going to ask. Is that Craig?
No, I can do it.
Director of Facilities or Director of Finance? Either one.
I also wanted to announce, we just found out late this afternoon that the programs for dental assistant and fashion design were approved through RIDE as CTC. Yep, so they're eligible now for funding. That was a huge amount of work by Mr. Hanlon, Mrs. Panichis, and Mrs. Vococcio. And so congratulations to them on all the work, and we're very excited that those were approved.
Craig, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I was late. Tonight before you is the memorandum regarding the security the upgrades. We received $500,000, up to a reimbursement of $500,000 from the Rhode Island Department of Education School Building Authority. So we are proposing to do intercom replacements at the 4 elementary schools that are in the memo. The total for that project for the 4 schools is $552,100. RIDE has authorized the reimbursement of, we can get reimbursed for up to $500,000. Our current reimbursement rate is 47.4%. And so that, based upon the $500,000, gives us a reimbursement amount of $237,000. So that would mean that we would be accessing from the soon-to-be established city capital revolving fund $315,100 to cover the costs of the project. We are required to complete the projects by September 30th, 2025. In initial discussions with the Director of Technology and Facilities, they anticipate that would easily be done. The vendor that we are using for the project is on the state bid list. Synet's company that we've used for all of the security work that we've done here in East Providence.
Nice thing about Synet is we're replacing all of the systems with Synet, and so we will have the ability from central office to, if we ever had to put all of our schools into a lockdown, or if we had to put a school in a lockdown, we can communicate through the PA system with the schools.
Questions or comments regarding the security funding update?
I have a question. I don't know if you can answer. Do you know, did they design all this software?
That I do not know. Pat McDonald?
Sorry, what was the question, Tony? I didn't hear that. Tony, what was the question? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Design all this software like we could
Oh.
Hey, how's it going? So it's a platform called Single Wire. It is most software right now, kind of a larger thing is more of software as a service. So you're kind of working with a company sort of longer term. So yes, the software of like Single Wire, the PA system, is proprietary, to kind of answer your question. But they've been in business a long time, and they're a pretty reputable company as well. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Additional questions or comments regarding the security funding?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. It's going to be a major benefit for these 4 schools: White Neck, Orlo, Silver Spring, and Myron J. Francis. I'm just curious, could you maybe just touch on if these are the 4 schools of greatest need, and if that was the reason why these are the 4 schools selected, then what will be the next steps for the other schools? Or are our other schools all set and don't need upgraded intercoms?
I think the ideal would be to end up standardizing on this platform. It's currently installed at Waddington, and they've been loving it. So the hope currently after these 4 is that we can hopefully down the road start implementing it at other buildings as well. So the idea, these 4, like White Neck specifically, there's a couple speakers in hallways. It's, I don't know if you've been in there recently, but they actually have a physical record player attached to their PA system. So, a little out of date. So this is just going to give us a lot better of a system for those schools who are currently of the greatest need for a new PA.
So our long-term plan would be to replace all of them, but these 4 are the highest priority. The others are functioning. Not that these aren't functioning, but we have to do a lot of piecing together at times. So that's why we chose these 4. And we did have Sinet go out to, have they given us a price on all of them, or just these 4 so far?
We still have to do Riverside, but I think we've done walks on all the others.
Okay.
Where we stand with them?
Yeah, so I've been meeting them at the various locations, and this is one of the platforms that they'll implement in schools, and we've worked with them on camera installs, things like that before. So we go to the school, walk through, we're going to put a clock speaker here. I think these offices should have consoles, the phones that actually let them do all calls, things like that. And, just kind of evaluate the areas of, all right, well, this is what this space needs, this is what this space needs, because none of the schools are the same. It's hard to put together kind of just one bomb of, all right, this is what we need for every school. So we're just going through and making sure they're fit to the school's needs.
Like when the vendor would actually like complete the work, like would it be during like school hours or outside of school hours?
Outside of school hours exclusively. The kind of enabling work that they're going to have to do, we'll have them in the ceilings. So obviously we don't want them in the ceilings, up on ladders and things while there are kids running around. So this will mostly be done over breaks, and then once the summer hits, we'll be in full force during the day.
Security money needs to be completed by September 30th, but we anticipate it being done by the end of the summer. We were just discussing that today.
Just give the committee a timeline on all of this? I don't know.
Yeah, so
Speaking to here, who you can enlighten me on this. Can we have a start date, an end date? With the time they're gonna be working on it? I
Yeah.
know when we had did a couple of the other schools, they did it like second shift, say, and, I probably went by some of them, twice or 3 times. When them guys were done, there wasn't a piece of wire on the floor. That's how professional, once again, every company's going through stages.
yeah.
Really want to see if that's the type of, work that we're gonna get the cleanliness. Our guys, some of the contractors we hire, our guys end up picking up after them and stuff. But that company, going back when we did some other schools a few years back,
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock when they left, the floors were just as clean as when our custodians.
Yeah, we've worked a lot with Sinet, and they've always been great with the work they've done, and make sure to leave the space as it was when they got there. In terms of timeline, we're actually hoping to start enabling cabling during Christmas break. So we'll hopefully get a lot of that done between Christmas break, I think February break and April break are the upcoming breaks, and then hanging the actual speakers, the programming of the speakers, and all that will happen in the summer.
Now, can you just let us know, is there going to be any look to put any of them on the outside? Yes, can you follow us with that way? We were looking to put some speakers outside down at
Yes. Yeah, so the plan is we're going to have, at every location, it kind of gets broken up into zones. So we'll have an interior-only zone, so only the speakers in the building. An all-call zone, which is interior and exterior, and an exterior zone. So at any time, you'll be able to make an all-call to just the outside, just the inside, or both.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you.
Get that to Sandy or somebody to send it to the staff.
Next, we have the facilities update.
Good evening. First at Riverside Middle School, the walk-in freezer is ongoing, ready for HVAC startup. The interior finish of the old freezer area is also ongoing. The electrical line has been trenched, piped, and run by O'Neill Electric on Monday, December 2nd. The roof is being tied in on December 9th and 10th, and the trim for the outside will be arriving for installation on December 23rd. The HVAC units and all lighting has been wired outside and inside. And some of the issues that have come up for concern, I have addressed with the installation contractor, and they are coming out to remediate them on the 23rd when they put the, trim on. Was my train of thought. The roadway parking lot lights are temporarily out due to a broken electrical line that runs underneath the entry roadway along the left-hand side of the building. A new line is being sent through underground to reconnect the power pole lighting. O'Neill Electric is also handling the repairs there. The repair timeline is estimated at 2 to 3 days. Over at Orlo, we're looking to install the new school sign that was purchased by the PTA previously. The required installation of footings and concrete for the sign are being priced out. At Martin Middle School, the school is progressing rapidly. Exterior sheathing is now up, the window frames are in, and the glass is also going in. Interior framing of walls, windows, and doorways are happening daily. They also have completed the roof portions. Some of the fireproofing work still is to be finished, along with closing in the middle section of the building where the new library will be, to retain heat outside elements, from the outside elements, to ensure that the fireproofing is able to cure at the correct temperatures. Staging for masonry is being set up to start the facade brickwork and flashings. The new media center curtain wall windows are being installed on the week of December 16th, along with the setting of the HVAC rooftop units. The electrical switchgear will be arriving for installation after Christmas, and waterproofing continues on the exterior of the building along with ABV, and the overall project is progressing rapidly, but without sacrifice of quality or lost time. Over at Waddington, the initial electrical work is being done inside the former boiler room to run new switchgear necessary for the phase 2 of the project. All of the old univent intake grates on the outside of the building have been temporarily sealed off to prevent any cold air coming in, and the openings are to be filled this summer with masonry. Here at the high school, the exterior facade lighting that illuminates the lettering of the school in the front of the building is to be replaced. The lights are still under manufacturer warranty for replacement, but will be expiring soon, and O'Neill Electric will be handling that repair also. I would like to take a moment to thank the outgoing school committee members for their time and wish them the best in their future endeavors. And that concludes my report. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions or comments from the committee?
Annie, I have a couple of them, please. Just with the exterior lighting on this building, does that warranty cover the labor as well?
Yes. Yes, they're still under manufacturer warranty, so the manufacturer covers the labor and everything. We get those through Sean O'Neill.
Is that the only section of lighting that we had an issue at the lettering?
It's not actually the lights. It's actually it's the driver in the lights that keep going. So that's the issue that we keep having. So he's actually getting the new drivers and installing them in the lights to keep them going. But the warranty is about to expire, so he's getting everything he can now in preparation for when that warranty runs out.
All right. And then back to Riverside, if you can just get the committee a list of the concerns that we had with that cooler project.
Yep, yeah, no problem.
Working on that. And then if you, I know I'm a stickler for start and end dates there.
Yep. I'm hoping right after the beginning of the new year.
How about the footings for the new sign at Orlo? Is that something that we're gonna, when you say getting prices, is that just from a local?
It's, yeah, the project is under our RFP amount, so that'll just be a local
That's
pricing.
something we can get done for them sooner rather than later, you think?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, we have the finance update. Good evening, even though we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Good evening again. The finance report in front of you, it represents the beginning of fiscal year 25 and the ending of fiscal year 24 as of December 10th. Over the last month, we have processed some outstanding invoices and we've recognized some revenue for the year end. There are still some outstanding transactions, revenue expenses that will be flowing in, which will have a result on our final result. We continue to remain cautious about the year end. As usual, January is usually the month when I'm able to give you the final number as to where we will land. So we remain very cautious, and I will be able to give you a specific number for the year end at the January meeting. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you. And it's just brief, and I just wanted to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Am I reading this correctly that we're currently, the 2024 budget versus the 2024 actuals, we would be in a $117,000 deficit? I'm sorry. The 2024 budget versus the 2024 actuals?
Yes, yep.
It reads as if we're currently looking at a $117,000 deficit?
No. I'm sorry. So are you talking about the bottom line?
The bottom line.
Oh, the bottom line. Yeah, no. So at this point, I am not saying that we have a deficit. So we still have revenue that has to come in that hasn't been recorded yet. So
what are the areas that you're expecting revenue to come in that haven't been recorded?
Sorry?
What are some of the areas that you're expecting revenues to come in that haven't been recorded?
There are still some rental income that hasn't come in. We still are awaiting the final results of our workers' compensation audit, which will have an impact on that as well. We've always gotten funds back from the previous years. So,
Expect that revenue to be enough to make up that number?
yes, we are hopeful. There are still pieces that are in play.
Also encumber tuition, and we're still waiting for final numbers from BYF. And Craig has asked them if they could speed it up so we could close out the year, but we're waiting for September and October bills.
Jessica, did you have a question?
So, I was looking at that with Ryan, but our substitutes are already at a 83% remaining into a month of our budget.
Additional questions or comments? Thank you. Next item.
Report.
Last month's was pretty extensive. I just want to, again, check in with Jessica and Craig and see if you guys want to add anything. I know you guys only had one
So
meeting.
we had a building committee meeting last night that lasted less than 20 minutes. So I'll just let it go at that. It was less than 20 minutes long. There was nobody from the public showed up. If you want to just quickly state
You just talked about it in
So
the
this-
updates, really.
So it's the same
and
information as
same-
the facilities report.
Correct. We are on the new time frame. The roof is on, so they're good for weatherproofing.
Sorry. So in the next 3 months at Martin, they're looking at the roof unit placement, the ductwork, waterproofing membrane, the windows and glass door frames, masonry, electrical and plumbing interior work. So I just want to mention, due to the unforeseen soil and environmental changes that the project incurred, the project is being brought back to finish projection range by roughly 3 months and is progressing quickly without sacrificing quality. As of May 2024, with no design change meant for a rough order of magnitude estimate upwards of $4.8 million to remove and dispose of the rejected soils. In July of 24, approval from the building committee to redesign the rough order estimate was 2.2 to 2.8 million. And since July, Peregrine, Shawmut, AI3, the building committees, and the district team have worked tirelessly to bring that estimate submitted to RIDE all the way down to $121,000. This is just a huge milestone accomplishment for the overall project in savings, and I would like to just give thanks to everyone that was involved.
And the other huge milestone was that Riverside was under $200,000 under.
Yes.
So we finished Riverside $200,000 under, which goes back into our capital fund, which was a big deal. So that also was discussed. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, if you go ahead.
Not related, just about the high school.
About the high school? Sure.
Danny, just a quick question. When we went up on the roof with the soffits leaking,
Yep.
some kind of update on that?
Sure.
Just as I was driving in here tonight, I got pictures of where that soffits was leaking in 2 spots. Now that soffit's leaking, I got it right here on my phone, I'll show you. Building, the soffits are leaking in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots now, just on the front of this building. And I'll show you. So once again, when we were up there about a month ago, we were supposed to have somebody go up there and look at it. I mentioned that to the superintendent as well. Now, when I drove in here, it's just what I do for a living, you can't miss it. The whole sidewalk is dry, and when I see 7 spots that are completely wet, and I stand there and the soffits are dripping, that's a serious issue. So I don't know what we need to do about a serious issue. $200 million building that, in my concern, when are we gonna?
I'll get somebody to address it, that's no problem, yeah.
If I may ask Tony, if you can make sure to send that out also to the
Yes, I will send it
superintendent,
to
because I just asked if she didn't have knowledge of it. Include also a director of facilities, just so.
You don't remember seeing the pictures of the soffit leaking here at your office, and then I went up there with Danny, and then I called and asked the permission, and the custodian got me on the roof 2 months ago? These are new pictures that I just got now, I didn't get a chance to send you. So I can send you the old ones as well as the new ones. And
Well, I think it'd be helpful if you just send it all in one email, and if you want to CC the
Yes.
rest of the committee, just again, so there's that sort of, follow through that you're looking for. If you put it all in one place, that way it's, easier to make sure that you can look at all everyone else can follow the trail that you're talking about.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I can follow up and see what the design of the building was supposed to be versus what it is also.
Thank you.
That's it.
and just as an update on my end, I did ask the superintendent and the chair of the building committee for the middle school and pre-K projects about if a second meeting is needed for this month for, anything building related, and they said no. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I did double check to make sure that, all our bills are going to be paid on time and that everything would be okay. Because, as you know, sometimes there is a timeline and we need to have a second meeting, but that's not the case this time. But that's just a FYI for people. Next item?
Action items?
No, PTA.
PTO, PTA at Black reports?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna just start with because because our meeting that our November meeting, we had at Kent Heights at 6 o'clock, which is where all of our meetings are. There is no meeting this month. Our next meeting will be January 28th, 6 o'clock at Kent Heights, where we are looking to discuss legal rights. We're going to have our former attorneys, or I think we're going to come in and discuss legal rights. So this one, however, was done by Mrs. Black, who is a teacher at Myron J. Francis, special education teacher, on break spaces in classrooms or at your home. It was phenomenal. When I tell you it was probably one of the best I've ever gone to, and I've been going to these for 12, 14 years, she did it so much that she brought everything in. Like, she brought us, like fidgety things for us to play with. She gave examples of break spaces in classrooms. So like if a student just needs to take a break, the student goes and sits in the corner, and she showed us how it's set up. She talked about why it's necessary, about routines, sensor-friendly. I mean, she so much told us a story about Mr. Black and how he puts all her stuff, like her car registration and everything, in an envelope, so like if she ever got pulled over, and then maybe if she did get pulled over once, if it did happen, like how she was maybe she was relaxed and she just knew where it was. And so she gave examples of that. It was so good for anybody who was listening, not just teachers, which there were a great handful of teachers there, but parents as well. So I just wanted, it was just a great seminar workshop. I believe it was taped, so if you do want to watch it, I believe Tori videotaped it with her phone. So again, I just want to make sure that people know that EPLAC is not necessarily just for students that have special needs, but anybody can go and learn a great deal of information. Now I'll just put on my PTA president hat. RMS still has every Saturday from around 2 o'clock till 4:30 at Contenders. We have a raffle. And again, what we're doing this year, that we do last year as well, is on certain Saturdays, we donate our funds that we make to other schools in the city, because we make enough. So last Saturday, we did the pre-K, so whatever funds we made last Saturday went to the pre-K program. Martin has already picked out a couple Saturdays. East Providence High School's picked out a couple Saturdays, but this Saturday, again, will be for Riverside. And we are hoping that Mr. Petch has showed up at all of them, and it's been a great time. And then we are going to do one specific one for the 8th graders of Riverside Middle School for their trip, like just for 8th graders, and that will be February 1st, and it will be a big, massive one, so I hope to see some faculty and some staffs and administration, because that will be the big one. So other than that, that's all I have for PTA stuff. Welcome.
Next item?
Action items?
Part 2, public
Oh,
comments.
Part 2, sorry.
It's okay. Lots of changes to the agenda today. First up, we have Tony DeSimas.
Good evening, school committee members. My name is Tony DeSimas, and I'm here tonight as a parent and advocate for my special needs child, Julian, who has been wrongfully excluded from his education due to an incident that was entirely preventable with proper supports in place. Julian, who lives with PTSD and has an IEP, was sent home and not allowed to return to school until he undergoes an evaluation. This exclusion, while not labeled as suspension, is by definition under IDEA is a suspension. And I have requested documentation including the suspension slip incident report, and I intend to trigger a manifestation determination review to address whether his behavior was a direct result of his disability or the district's failure to implement his IEP. I am disheartened and deeply displeased by how this situation was handled. Trauma-informed practices and proper accommodations, as outlined in Julian's IEP, could have prevented this incident entirely. Instead, Julian's personal space was invaded to the point where he felt compelled to react defensively, escalating the situation unnecessarily. This not only violates the principles of trauma-informed care, but also highlights a systematic failure to provide the necessary support to a child with special needs. As a parent with the knowledge of educational advocacy landscape, I have the ability to navigate these challenges and advocate for my child. But I stand here tonight questioning, if this can happen to my child, what about the families who do not have the knowledge or resources to advocate? How are they supposed to ensure their children receive free, appropriate public education, guaranteed to them under federal law? This incident is not just about Julian. It reflects a broader issue within the district's ability to meet the needs of our most vulnerable students. If proper supports, training, accommodations were in place, situations like this would not arise. Denying a child's access to education is a violation of their rights. It's unacceptable. I ask this committee to reflect on what steps will be taken to ensure incidents like this do not happen again to Julian or any other child in our district. We must do better for all our students, especially those with special needs, and hold ourselves accountable to the standards of equity, inclusion, and excellence in education.
Thank you. Superintendent, if you can just send us an email with some, okay, thank you. And that concludes public comment. Next item, please.
Finally, action items.
First, we have a consider and vote to approve the resolution authorizing the sale of 317 Market Street, Warren, Rhode Island, pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 16-3.1-10. I wasn't sure if anyone here was going to speak on it additionally.
So we're a member of the East Bay Collaborative, and the East Bay Collaborative is dissolving. So as a member district, the committee needs to authorize the sale of the real estate property. So they have a purchase and sales agreement currently in place, and they're waiting for authorization from the majority of the school committees from the Board that governs.
Questions or comments regarding this item?
What happens if the majority says no?
Oh, I'm not really sure.
Is there a timeline for this, or can this be held
Sell the building. I mean, if this committee doesn't vote, voting this month on it. The collaborative is dissolved. They're not providing any services for us, and the purchase price will be actually divided up and given back to the districts.
So the East Bay Educational Collaborative owned this building
Correct.
and dissolved,
Correct.
and they provided services for multiple districts, including ours.
Yes, 8 districts in the East Bay were part of the East Bay Collaborative. We governed the East Bay Collaborative, and we initially funded the start of the collaborative. That's why this property remains up for sale. Our legal counsel, both actually the prior and this one, have looked at this. And the resolution that goes along with, well, the purchase and sales agreement that goes along with the resolution.
And there's a buyer lined up for this? At the amount of $3.2 million.
Correct.
And we, as a district, would receive $100,000 of that 3.2 million?
I'm not exactly sure what we'll receive after they pay off any of, there's still some salaries and any workers, any unemployment benefits that people may. So once they finish paying off all their expenses, whatever is left will be divided between the districts.
Terms, what are just the, you know, the pros and the cons of selling or not selling?
Building is, the East Bay Collaborative doesn't exist anymore. So
The building's vacant.
The building will be vacant soon.
But
So
we have 1/8 ownership of this building?
What about the stuff in the building?
So most of it has gone already to auction.
Do we get that money too?
Once everything is settled, whatever money is remaining will be divided. We actually, some of the things at East Bay Collaborative, we've taken.
What about
Furniture and-
their vans?
They went out to auction. Getting all our science kits, furniture. Whatever's left in the building will be disposed of.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays?
Nay.
Nay.
Next item is a consider and vote to approve the East Providence High School 2025 to 2026 program studies. We discussed this heavily, but if anyone has any additional questions or comments, if not, I'll entertain a vote to approve.
You know, as I made comment, I think this is a really well thought out you know, framework of opportunities for the students. And again, I really just want to give a thank you to all of the folks involved in the success of, you know, the recognition that's been received and the forward progress that has been taking place. So, you know, with that, I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, let's say aye.
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 Aye. Are there any nays? That's approved. And next item is consider and vote to approve the RFP related to the steel building at the East Providence High School. That was included in our packets. I'm not sure if there's additional information in that one that the administration would like to add. The packets were in our, the individual RFPs are in our packets, and this was also discussed our last meeting. But again, if anyone wants to add any comments or questions, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays?
Nay. I vote nay on that because it's another expense to the taxpayers that I feel we don't have enough information on, and the amount of time that we've spent, me and ours, on this steel building, is not a law against it, because we started off with a $60,000, $70,000 building. Then we went to a $125,000 building. Then we went to $150,000 with, if it runs over that, we can take the money from capital improvement. And then we drop the ball and start all over again, going out for an RFP. But we still don't have knowing if we need a fire alarm in it, what the electrical's going into this building. We have nothing. So I vote nay on it. Thank you.
That Sharon? Record? Okay, thank you. And next item?
Announcements?
I just want to remind everyone that the 9th Annual Christmas Community Dinner is December 25th from 11:30 to 4:30 at the Bright Ridge Club at 59 Bright Ridge Avenue. If you have nowhere to go or you just want to join them, it's free food, it's clothing, toiletries, and if the school department could please put that out to families, I would appreciate it on their little postage thing. They're still looking for stuff, so if you have anything, you can reach out to me and I'll make sure it gets to the right people. I would be happy to.
Any other announcements? I just want to say briefly, a major thank you to working with my colleagues. Very grateful for the relationships that we cultivated, the good work that we did. I'm going to miss working with you guys a lot. And big thank you again to the administration. You guys have done great work, and I look forward to, on my end, at least trying to help out the school district as well. So that's one of the things that motivated me to move up to the State House is very much education. I think it's one of the biggest tools that kids have to be able to move up in life. So again, that's what's been motivating me the entirety of the time. So again, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really gonna miss you guys. And again, Max, best of luck to you. I know you have big plans happening, and I really look forward to seeing where you go. So.
Thank you. Great working with everyone, and I look forward to seeing all of the positive things that all of you are going to be continuing to do over the coming years.
And a thank you to Ward 3 voters. I would not have been here without your support, both terms that I've served. So major thank you to Ward 3 residents.
Thank you to Ward 2 residents.
And next item.
And I'd just like to thank both of you too. Up here, we know the amount of personal time that it takes away from your homework and stuff. So
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tony. Next item.
I guess, assuming we don't have another meeting this month, I'll make my last motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays?